Hi everyone, I am Kayla. Welcome to Math TV. Today, today we are going to have a conversation with My Aligned Purpose co-founder, Nicole McLellan, about what brought her to this point in her life, where we together co-founded My Aligned Purpose to support women entrepreneurs. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
Okay, so I know that so many people who work with us and the people who are going to work with us in the future are curious about who you are, how you got here, what led you down this path, and I
Mm,
can't wait to find out more.
Yeah, and quite a journey it's been.
It's been a journey. It's going to be hard to summarize in 20 minutes, but we're going to give it a shot. So, can you tell us the beginning? Like, let's go back to maybe in your 20s and tell us, like, how did you get interested in mindset?
Yeah. Okay. So I I feel like I always had a curiosity around like why people do what they do and how people think and those sorts of things. But I never, back in my late teens, early adulthood, never thought about a profession outside of a psychologist or psychiatrist. Thought about how I could get more curious about people's behaviors. Other than teaching. So I thought, well, I could get really curious about teenagers and get to know more about their behaviors and how they work. And so I went to school, I got my undergrad, and then I went back and I got my BEd, and I took a teaching job, teaching grade 7, 8, and 9 for my first 3 years of my teaching career. And while I loved teaching and I loved the connections that I had with my students, there was this growing pain within me. And I say it was a pain because I felt very conflicted every day, where I was like, wow, I should really be loving this job, and I am making such an impact, and I tick all the boxes. I've got the security and the benefits and the pension and all of these things, and yet something was like, this doesn't feel good. And when I got really curious about what doesn't feel good, it was just that I just have this thing within me where I don't want to be told what to do. And so showing,
It cannot be managed.
I
It
cannot be managed. And
cannot
so showing up to teach a job at a particular place at a particular time and in a public school in a very particular way, following the curriculum,
be.
it felt very misaligned for me. And I'm somebody who tries every day to recalibrate into alignment. Like, does this feel good? Check, like those vitals check. Yes, move forward. And I wasn't being honest with myself. And so I started to get curious of, what is there a way to be a teacher outside of these four walls of public school? So then I went to, independent school.
Mm.
It still didn't do it for me. It was like, oh, right, I just don't want to be told how to do my work. I want to create the rules for my job, for my life, and how I show up.
Okay, folks, you heard it here. So tell us about tell us about what happened when you were like, okay, I'm going to leave my 3-year teaching gig and go do something else.
Yeah, that was really like I took the off the beaten path basically after the first 3 years of my teaching career. And I got a year working holiday visa in Australia. And this was when I was like 30, 31. And so when everybody else in my immediate life at that time was like settling down and having babies and buying homes and getting married, I once again was feeling very conflicted of, how come I don't want any of those things? And it just turns out, because the career I wanted, I didn't know existed. I didn't find the right partner. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very energetic based. And so things weren't feeling good. So I got to Australia. Long story short, I can spare all the details, but I met this friend. He's now a really great friend of mine, Dave Thompson. And I ended up writing a book with his publishing company.
Hmm.
And at the time, like when I read the book now, I'm like, oh gosh, did I write those words? But because it's just not in alignment with who I am now. But I wrote a story about my teaching experiences and how I wish that we could use mindfulness more in the classroom and it be okay. And so that really started to get me, I think, known and familiarized in people's minds as somebody who is speaking mindset, talking about how parents could do this with their children, how teenagers could embody it themselves, and how teachers could interact in a way. I never once thought about I could teach adults. I for a long time I created this story that I could only teach people that were younger than me. So as you know, Kayla, that's something I worked through. That was the Keep I Fear to Enter. So Brene Brown speaks. And yeah, so I wrote my book with Dave Thompson.
Yeah.
And got to know him really well in a friendship way. And from that moment on, Dave really got to know me and how my mind works. And he actually hired me to go coach other writers on the big island of Hawaii, and Hawaii, I believe it's called. And we went down there together in 2019. And that experience was like a really big turning point in the road for me, because when Dave called me to go on this retreat to coach, I was like, but Dave, I'm not a coach. He was like, oh, you are one of the best coaches I've like ever met. And, you know, Dave knows lots of coaches. He went to the Brisbane Institute of Coaching, and I felt like both flattered and scared of like, oh, this feels like a lot of responsibility for something that I don't have a title for yet. And so while I was there, I was with all other trained coaches, and, you know, performed just as well as anybody else. And after that, it was like, okay, this is a profession that I really want to like.
Did you know coaching was a job before that?
No.
Oh.
No, I didn't know coaching was a job before I moved to Australia. So I had always coached sports. I coached basketball and track, and I'm very familiar with like coaching in an athletic realm. And same thing, same. It's like accountability, creating structure, that sort of thing. And but when I got to Australia, I met this one friend, Jason, who introduced me to Dave, and now my friend Davina, and this whole circle of people that were coaches, whether they're life coaches, business coaches. And I was like, oh, like I can talk to people and help them and teach in a very different way. And it was like the floodgates opened for what I believed was possible for my life.
I love that. Does Dave know? Dave, when you're watching this, shout out to Dave Thompson.
I think he knows. Yeah. I've given him lots of credit of like, I can't believe I'm here now. Like, thank you for taking me under your wing. And so after that experience in 2019 in Hawaii, I came back, and I was at an independent school at that time here in British Columbia for teen moms and teens that were pregnant. It was a very different experience. It wasn't really teaching. It was more like mentoring, and I was running my own nonprofit at the time. And once again, just still trying to like be that support system for people. But once I came back from Hawaii, I was like, oh, there's a different way to do this. And so that's when I got curious and looked into different coach training schools that I could go to, and came across CTI, which is Coactive Training Institute. And they do leadership and coach training. And so I've done my coach training through them.
Can you tell us, we might have to rewind a little bit, but can you tell us about how yoga teacher training impacted your journey, and then how it fostered your curiosity and helped you be a connector along the way?
Yeah, I found yoga at the same time I was doing my BEd. So I took time off between my undergrad and my BEd, and I traveled and explored lots of different job opportunities at the time. And then in my mid to late 20s is when I went back to school for my BEd, and at the same time did my yoga teacher training. And once again, as somebody who was very athletic, stretching did not seem appealing to me until I entered my very first yoga class. And I was like, what is this? And it was the energy. I can describe the smell, the sound, the feeling of the wood floors beneath my feet. Like, it was game changing for me. And so naturally I was like, I need to learn everything about this and be able to teach it. And so I did my 200-hour teacher training to begin, and I've done multiple trainings since. But I brought yoga sneakily into my classroom. We weren't allowed to call it yoga at the time, which is weird to me.
Okay.
That's my own opinion. And yeah, so I got really interested in the energetics of the body, the chakra system, the Vedic system, which, you know, from a science perspective is just our endocrine system. It's all related, and really got curious about like the metaphysical side of ourselves. So how our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings create our thoughts, and how can I bring this teaching into my coaching. So because we are not just our minds, we are our minds, we are our hearts, we are our souls, and there's so much happening. And I believe that when we can like conquer what's inside of here, anything is possible.
Hence, mindset enthusiast.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what I love bringing to My Line Purpose is mindset coaching. Alongside Kayla, we work with all women and lots of women entrepreneurs. And oftentimes what somebody arrives with us with their dream of what they want to do within their business, my capacity is to support them to expand that dream. So I can see somebody's dream and then I can see way beyond it because I see past the parameters that people are creating, because we do create parameters. We put ourselves in a box. And when there's someone like myself that is energy based and I don't see the box, I feel the energy. It's like, oh, you are capable of so much more. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, that is one of the most powerful things about coaching. And our coaching style is that for your first call, when you work with us 2-on-1, your first call, we all get on the call together, the three of us, and we do a vision expansion session. So we learn about what you want for your business. And we talk about what goals to work towards to get there, but we talk about so much more, your identity, how you're showing up. We really tease out the details of what you want and then help you think about your impact and how this is affecting other people and how this could grow, or how you could make it into, I don't know, your life into whatever you desire. And I always see you, when we're working with clients, being an amazing connector and an expander. And it's like, it's magic, because when there's three of us on the call, when we're coaching and it's one-on-one, we're just zoned into the other person. But when there's three of us on the call, the other one can watch what's going on. And it's like, to see people, it's almost like you can see them, they're holding on to the bars and all they have to do is let go and take one step to the right and walk away, and they're not in jail anymore. And I can just see them holding on to the bars. And by the end of the call, with your future vision expansion, with your connectivity, with your learning, they're just like, okay, wow, there are other possibilities. Maybe that doesn't have to be my reality, the bars.
Absolutely. And the connection pieces, I feel like until I took this assessment a few years ago, I'd often heard from people like, so many people and you connect so many people. Like, what's that all about? I'm like, I don't know. It's just like, it's just part of who I am. And then I took this assessment called Standout Method 2.0, and it was part of a training when I worked for Lululemon. And my number one strength, they want to know as an employee on the floor, an educator on the floor with Lulu, what is your top strength? And mine was connector. So somebody walks in,
It is.
yeah, like I am, teaching this yoga class and I'm new to the city. I'm like, oh, I can connect you with every studio owner there is. Get out a pen and pad. Here we go. Like that, that is just,
that's how you are.
Yeah, it's within me. And so I love Coffee Club, which is our online membership site, because I'm like, oh, I hear this woman say this business idea, and I know this other woman has this business idea. I'm like, I will connect you to.
And you do.
And I do.
Yeah, lots of people say, oh, I'll like send the email or whatever, follow up and connect you. And then you never hear about it again and everyone kind of forgets. Nicole will actually connect you. And so many businesses have been formed or grown or whatever they want to happen because of the connections that are made in My Line Purpose and in Coffee Club. So thank you for that leadership.
You're welcome. It's like, it's just me.
Okay. Okay, Nicole, this has been a great snapshot all about Nicole. Is there anything you want to leave people with?
Yeah. The thing that I want to leave people with is that, the saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so when you heard Kayla say, because I heard you say, like, we help you figure out what you want. And if you're like, I can't figure out what I want because you're not clear, that is really what I think a limit you are putting on yourself. And
Mm.
so come talk to us. If you're like, I don't even know where to begin, then that's the mindset you're taking. You will not know where to begin. But when you ask for help, which is where we arrive, we show up. As soon as you ask for help, we're here. We will be able to sort you through those, whether you think you can or you think you can't. We will show you you can actually do whatever you want. You might piss some people off along the way. You might upset some people. You might throw some people out of routine. But at the end of the day, if what you really want is what you really want, we will get you there.
Mm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can't wait for people to watch this and let us know. I have something I really want. How can I do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.